Welcome to UberCube, the podcast where we discuss all things cube, but with refreshments. This is your host, Anthony Adams, aka UberBear, and I'm joined tonight by my other host,
me, May the Fae. Hello.
And May and I, we just came back from CubeCon 2023. It was a whirlwind of things that happened at this fantastic event. And we're going to talk about that today, right? Because we're really excited. I mean, we're like, what, from today's recording, 360 plus days from CubeCon 2024, and we're super excited to do it all over again. Too much time. And
Bring me back in.
Oh, yeah, get us back into CubeCon as soon as possible. Already dreaming, or just like J-Bro, already dreaming of CubeCon. But on today's episode, we're kind of going to do what we consider our top-level highlights in this multi-level series that we're going to do, talking about CubeCon from the experience point of view, CubeCon from the curation point of view, and CubeCon from the playing and draft point of view, including the feedback that both May and I received on our featured cubes, as well as our good friend Chris, aka Sandwich, and others, right? So we're going to kind of talk about that. May, just as a little quick thing, how would you summarize your experience at CubeCon 2023?
Whew. That's hard to just summarize it in a few words, but definitely it's the most fun event that I've ever been to.
Oh man, it was exciting. But before we go any further down this particular rabbit hole that we like to do here, we're going to do the thing that we always do here at UberCube, and we're going to enjoy our libations of the show. And we're going to start out with May. What are you having on this particular episode?
I am having a Wilson's Orchard, again, but this time it's strawberry-flavored hard cider.
I actually did something pretty cool this time around. Our good friend, Barely Lupe, a.k.a. Dan Lupe, we talked before we went to CubeCon, and he wanted to get a six-pack of North Carolina's finest brews. And I agreed that I would bring a couple of them, and as did this individual. And I want to say thank you, special shout-out to Dan for putting together this collection of sweet, sweet beers. And I'm going to start out with Huber Dark Cherry Lager. It's a full-bodied and smooth with some really dark cherries just embedded in it. It's Wisconsin's finest, and I'm excited to crack this open. Let's get to the show. All right. So let's, May, you okay with me taking off a few of my highlights of the just kind of 40,000 feet in the air, right?
Go ahead. Send us off with the KCI combo in Dragons of Winter's Night.
This was the thing that was most exciting for me. Our good friend ChillMTG designed a desert cube in a winter plain. I would define it as a frozen wasteland, where he has just totally designed this, where everything's a struggle. Getting resources is a struggle. With equipment matters. Like we said, KCI combo, but dragons are the huge feature. And it's all about managing your resources. And it's very difficult. And for those that aren't familiar with drafting a desert cube, it's typically, while the draft is going around, you typically have 3 packs of 18 so that you ensure a nice, well-rounded mana base. And of those 3 packs of 18, each pack you're going to draft typically 5 to 6 lands. And we talked about this on a previous episode. So when I sat down... Oh, yeah. So when I sat down at the table, I was super excited and a little stoked to do the most technical deck that was well beyond my pay grade. And that was the KCI combo. And boy, did I take it on. And I actually completed the loop one time with the, we won't say it, but with the help of others tapping me on the back of my ear, telling me, yes, you've got the loop completed. Now demonstrate the loop. And I'm like, oh my God, I don't know how to do it. And they're like, just pause, think, breathe, demonstrate the loop. And eventually I did. I had to sit there and math it out because it was super complex. It was like a 5-card loop, but it was very fascinating. It was so interesting, in fact, that my opponent said, take all the time you need. I'm actually enjoying not only watching you sweat here trying to solve this, but also enjoying the fact that it had come together. Because in a desert environment, and in this particular one, the vast majority of my lands entered the battlefield tapped. So the setup was very complex while trying to hold back the swath of attacks that were coming my direction. And to be able to assemble that, oh man, it was the chef's kiss, May. It was just amazing. And the sadness comes to my heart. Chill, this is a sadness. I'm glad that I'm probably the last one that will ever get to do that particular combo in this environment, because we spoke afterwards and he's now decided that perhaps it's too complex for the environment. He's going to rework it just based on the feedback that he received from. Did you get a chance to actually draft it, May? Dragons of Winter Night? Oh man,
that's the problem with CubeCon. There's so many cubes. There's so much to do in so little time. I didn't get a chance to draft everything. So
that would be my one observation from 2022 to going into 2023 is the previous year, because it was smaller. We had an opportunity to actually get around and try more of the cubes, right? This one was such a big. It was like we were at the Golden Corral of Cube this year. I had no idea what I wanted to grab. So
Golden Corral of Cube. Oh
yes. So I just stayed over by the chocolate fountain the whole time and picked all the ones that I felt like would be. And I would say that this particular cube really tested my skills, my chops, right? And I didn't. I probably should have studied more, but I knew going in, I was laser-eyed. I'm going to do this. And I mean, we'll talk about this more expansively, but I got past Tinkerer. I got past KCI and all the components involved. It was just total sickness. But May, that's enough about that one. We're kind of just highlighting it for now. We're going to talk about that a lot more in depth on a following episode. But May, do you have anything to add about your experiences? We're going to kind of go back and forth here a little bit.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking we would do too. So, on Saturday of CubeCon, I actually didn't get a chance to do the morning draft due to unfortunate scheduling with GameholeCon and CubeCon unfortunately overlapping, where a lot of the featured cubes were being played at the same time that the little quiz show thing that I did with John Terrell, the host of Cult of Cube and one of the main supporters and organizers for CubeCon, ran an event called Mind Twist. And during Mind Twist, I got my butt absolutely handed to me by Derek and Anthony Maddox from Lucky Paper Radio. And it was a lot of fun, though. I can't wait for it to go on YouTube whenever that goes up, but when it does, I'll definitely share it. There was a lot of times where it would come up, and I didn't think that I knew what the answer was, but I threw out a random guess and got it. And it got everyone so excited. It was wonderful.
Well, let me ask you a question, because I was knee-deep probably in the middle of Dragons of Winter's Night about when this was happening. I wanted to know, of those questions, very Jeopardy style, what was the most memorable question or something that you learned? Because I heard there was a lot of interesting statistical data, et cetera. Is there something, a takeaway from this really cool quiz bowl that you did that you picked up on?
So the most represented set in the CubeCon was Modern Horizons 2. Modern Horizons 2. I can speak. That was very surprising. None of us expected it or would have predicted it, but...
Yeah, that really demonstrates the impact of that particular... I do remember when Modern Horizons 2 came out that not only did my cubes... gifted with just an amazing set of cards, but my wallet truly suffered the most it's ever suffered when that's because every single cube that I owned wanted something from that set. It was, again, the chef's kiss. And by the way, I just want to give a shout out. This beer is absolutely glorious. This dark cherry lager. Oh, got to get back to Wisconsin as soon as we can to pick. Oh man, May, I'll send you one. This is amazing. I'll have to get some delivered. Oh my goodness. Kind of chaining off from the beer thing that I felt was amazing, and it was new for me, and I'm hooked. And we're going to talk about this more in a future episode with Dan Lupe and the crew, right? But Bar Cube Night. Oh my goodness.
Bar Cube Night was so fun.
Oh yeah. So before I start stealing the show on it, May, tell me about your Bar Cube Night and what that was at the Delta Beer Lab, if I'm not mistaken. It was a special after hours on Thursday event outside of the normal thing, and it was just fantastic. Give us a little overview of that, if you would, please, for the listeners.
Okay, so when I got in, I actually wanted to play what was called the Green Fairy Cube, just because, it's Fairy Cube, it's what I gotta do. Derek ended up pulling me over, and of course all of y'all were drafting as well, and it was this lesson learn cube that was unsleeved, dingy on top of the just tabletop where we were all just drinking, having a good time, and I ended up drafting a Grixis pile. It was a sort of like Grixis control deck, It was a lot of spell slinging garbage, and I just destroyed lands, discard a bunch of... Well, it wasn't destroy lands. It was just a bunch of discarding effects, a bunch of burn effects, and then just trying to whittle at my opponent's resources while just hitting them for damage every once in a while, and that was really entertaining.
And
I did pretty well on that one, actually.
Yeah, and I sat down at the table, and I said, hello, Derek. I've never bar cubed before. And I rolled up my mat, and he goes, what are you doing? I put my mat down. He goes, no, get that mat off this table now. And I'm like, what? And I'm like, fine. Okay, sure, whatever. He goes, this is a no mat zone. And I'm like, oh, okay. So
don't forget the no phone part.
Oh, yeah. That's what I was going to say next. So then I laid down my phone, and I'm like, oh, who's keeping time? He goes, no, get your phone off the table. I'm like, what? How am I going to keep... He goes, no, I'm going to show you how to... He goes, you know how to keep score with Magic cards? I'm like, I've heard of this before, right? Like, in the way back when, right? But then he showed me the using the 3 Magic cards to represent 5, 5, and 5, and then the horizontal cards doing the 1, 1, 1, 1, all the way to 20 life. And all you did was just move your Magic cards. There was no sleeves. There were no mats. There's beer all over the table. These cards are gloriously beat to all hell. It was wonderful.
Oh, it was glorious.
Oh my gosh. I mean, I saw people just setting their beer right into the condensation. I'm like, setting their cards right into the condensation. I'm like, but it was glorious. And
it definitely was.
I built a 6, so I didn't really bite into the lesson learned. So really to explain that, what made this cube so cool is that he eroded cards with lesson learned. So like, for example...
Literally took a Sharpie to them.
He changed it so that you no longer draw a card, but instead you lesson learn, stuff like that. It was really interesting to see that, and he Sharpied them, and then you would have your lessons learned kind of piles to the side. But I kind of went straight up mono green nonsense, and he was really impressed because I just did a giant fast ramp stompy, and man, it was fun. It was lightning fast, and I got a bunch of wins with it. I couldn't beat everybody with it, but it just straight up just dumpster firing the table.
Creatures that turn sideways wins the game.
Oh, I just figured we're having some beers. We got, just cards saturated in beer. I'm just going to play big dumb green nonsense, and it was fantastic. And I got beat by people who really bought into the lesson learn aspect. And we're going to talk about how to build a bar cube in a series that we have coming up soon, as I mentioned before. I'm really excited to break that down because I've learned so much about that scene that I didn't know, and I'm excited. And to really put some scope to it, Derek was one of the first individuals to take this on. And I believe Slick Jagger actually mentioned that he as well had adapted one. And of course, Lupe and the team had talked about doing that as well. But Derek's first iteration was just in a plastic Ziploc bag, and he expanded it for a larger audience. That's all the storage you get, just cards in O bag. It was fantastic. And I was the odd duck on this evening because I had submitted, if you're familiar with the Dumpster Fire Cube, and if you're not, we have a series on how we as a team at UberCube, and by the way, May, we need to get you involved with this, developed a cube where curators... Yeah. Curators that had never been curators just put cards into a box, basically. And the only restriction was must be $2, must be rare or mythic, and that's it. And then we there's a whole process we did. And you can check that out on either join our Discord or check it out underneath my Cube Cobra, and I will share a link. But what made me the odd duck in not understanding Bar Cube Night, the premise of a Bar Cube is that you have no dice, no sleeves, no mats, no additional tokens. And what did I bring with I brought everything with me. I'm like, I had this beautiful case. Fool. I know, I didn't know what I was doing, right? But they still accepted it. They're like, yeah, I guess we'll let you do this. But it was amazing. But here is the highlight of my Dumpster Fire Cube that we built with Team UberCube. Someone came up to me, tapped me on the shoulder and said, hey, I just beat someone with 5-alarm fire.
Ha! I need one.
Yes. Okay, so... to put this in perspective, this kind of sets the tone, and the reason why I was allowed to be accepted into Bar Cube Night is because I presented cards like this. 5-alarm fire for 1 colorless and 2 red, you get an enchantment. Whenever a creature you control deals combat damage, put a blaze counter on 5-alarm fire. Remove 5 blaze counters from 5-alarm fire. 5-alarm fire deals 5 damage to target creature or player. And this is one of those cards when we was first added by our good friend Avram, if I'm not mistaken, to the Dumpster Fire Cube. I personally heavily disputed it. And to have a player, and this is me now calling myself out to the interweb, I told him this card was absolute nonsense and unplayable. And to have a player tell me, oh, no, 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 this is literally a lava axe that's just turn-based, and it put my players on a clock. It was so funny to have that happening. Oh, yeah, I never even looked at it that way. It's a slow lava axe. I'm like, oh, okay,
I mean,
okay.
I kind of agree.
Yeah, I didn't before, but now I do. I'm a changed individual when it comes to this dumpster fire card. The other highlight from the dumpster fire cube is when our good friend Slick Jagger, the one that runs shout out to cube heads, right? Steve came up to me and said, "Hey, yo, you got Spirit Monger." And I was like, "Okay." He's like, "You're bringing me back to my childhood." So what was really cool for me as a curator is to have someone play this boxo cards, as we called it, amongst Team UberCube, and then to have these flashbacks of memories, right? And he
I
really
love those
was
moments.
Oh, yeah, this wasn't an aha moment. This was a flashback memory. He even said to me that he was apprehensive about giving this cube a chance until he drafted it. And like his pack one, pick one was Spirit Monger. Spirit Monger for 3 colorless and Golgari, 1 black, 1 green. Creature Beast. Whenever Spirit Monger deals damage to a creature, put a 1/1 counter on Spirit Monger. Pay 1 black, regenerate Spirit Monger. Pay 1 green, Spirit Monger becomes the color of your choice until the end of turn, back in the days of Doomblaze, etc., for a 6/6. And it just brought me joy that these 2 cards, 5 Alarm Fire, which I literally did not want in the cube, and Spirit Monger, which I know is a power outlier, brought someone joy. And that really kind of brought the idea of the Bar Cube night, even though I broke the rules, May, kind of to a great finale for me. Do you have anything else to add about Bar Cube night? Any memories?
Absolutely, I do. So, one of the things that I wanted to mention is that we talked about something that is extremely adjacent to this with travel cubes, which have a kind of similar goal, where it's a lot of no tokens, no counters, trying to make the list small enough that you can fit it in like a small bag or a small box. But the difference between a bar cube and a travel cube is that I felt like I was pushed outside of my lanes in a way that I wasn't with my travel cube. Because with my travel cube, it feels like it's just kind of, it's magic, but I just selected a bunch of the best cards that can fill the slots within the niches that I was trying to fill, versus with the bar cubes, they were like, oh, instead of me trying to find the cards that fit these things, let me just take a Sharpie to these things and then just make them cards that'll fit. And It completely changed my perspective on Sharpie-related cards.
Yeah, that was something wild for me to see too. Seeing people just crossing out things that they simply didn't want to deal with, like it draws a card. It was a new way of thinking for me as a curator that I never thought of before. And I'm actually excited now to attempt to build a bar cube outside of the dumpster fire cube that we have. It opens up a whole new avenue because we've been doing a lot more pub play lately. I think it'd be fun just to do the whole cube in the O bag idea, right? And I wanted to thank Derek
I've been
Gallen.
working on one. I've been working on one that I'm very proud of, because I left and I felt like I wanted to play like a manifest morph cube. And so first thing I did when I got back home is that I just took a bunch of cards that are just draft shaft everywhere else, or cards that are just like classic, like Sarah Angel, and then just took a Sharpie and said, morph for white. Now you can just play 3 colorless and then morph it for white instead of just playing 5 for the Sarah Angel. Still the same Sarah Angel, but now you can break up its cost. So it changes the way that we look at classic cards. And that is a perspective that I didn't have previously. I was going to say, side note from the Derek's Cubes that we did, there was an opportunity that I got outside of playing the bar cubes, where I met up for dinner with a bunch of people, and we got to play the Green Fairy Cube. And I was particularly interested in this because it had like typal things. There was a lot of lore ring cards, so of course I was interested in it. But the interesting part was that even though it had a lot of the overarching ideas with my Fae Cube, none of the cards were the same. It was a lot of cards that I've seen, that I've heard of, and then I've never like put in the Fae Cube or regardless. So it was really an interesting experience because what Noah ended up doing. So, Island Ponder's Cube, what he did is that he went a lot more outside of the box than Derek did, where instead of just making consistent edit across the multiple cards, instead he was just like, hey, you know what? Instead of just trying to make a bunch of these cards have a similar mechanic, let's just make these their own unique environment in a way that was really creative. So what he did was, like, he scratched off extra mana cost off of things, or one of my favorite changes that I suggested was getting a 3/3 for 3 ETB draw card.
Nice.
It's just it was like extremely unhinged, but extremely
errata
fun.
via Sharpie is pretty exciting.
Oh, yeah.
And it created a whole new dynamic. That's what I thought was interesting. Like, these cards are thrashed. We did no mats. I had to adapt to that, being a curator, right? And just to have people, Sharpies everywhere, really cool, like, modified rules, just made for a whole new... It really took old cards, as May said, like Sarah Angel, etc., and it awakened them for me as a curator to see that there's more possibilities, right? I mean, there's opportunity to just do something a little different for flavor. So another highlight, and that's kind of the Bar Cube night was absolutely amazing. If you come to CubeCon 2024, highly recommend you get engaged with that. It was just a jovial experience, people sitting around. I mean, we still like swapped ideas and all that, but this was a lot more. You think CubeCon was really light, you should have seen Bar Cube night. It was next level light. It was fantastic. And it was a real honor for me as a curator. Oh, yeah. And the Dumpster Fire Cube, because they had a menu to choose from, was labeled the PBR of cubes, which is fantastic. Thank you for including me, even though I broke all the rules. That was fantastic.
Next year, I'm trying to get my Bar Cube included, and I'm going to be submitting my own thing for Bar Cube, and that's going to be fun.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And I'll probably do the same. I'll just do something a little bit more in the spirit of Bar Cube. I remember thinking, like, after they sent the thing out saying all the rules of Bar Cube, I'm like, I'm not following any of these rules. And they still welcome me in, so thank you very much. Another highlight for me, and this is an odd one, there is a V for Vendetta. I have, and I'm sure a lot of players, I spoke to a couple of them, have experienced this. Justin Parnell, love you, Justin, has literally destroyed me in every single game of Magic. So... So we're playing, I opened up on day one, the first draft of the day. I was super excited to draft the Fae Cube. And we're going to talk about that more extensively. There's a reason why I ended up where I was. But Justin drafted a Selesnya package that was really good. But he's now sitting over in the last place seat. He's already been defeated, right? And he's waiting on his challenger. As I'm sitting there currently playing for the the first to the last place seat, and he's like, come on, just scoop it out. You know you want this. I'm like, no, I'm going to try to win this match. And ultimately, I got beat by my opponent. So it's me versus Justin Parnell. So Justin Parnell are seating now playing for last place in the Fae Cube. And I'm super excited to do this, right? I'm laser-eyed. I'm like, all right, I can't possibly lose to Justin Parnell. I think this will be my fourth time, and ultimately he did beat me. So this is how it opened up the game. I'm laser-eyed. I'm laser-focused. I'm on the play. I play my land. Enters untapped. I've got an island. Justin plays his land. I play my untapped island, and I cast Boomerang. And I bounce his tap land back to his hand. And he's like, well played, sir. That was a highlight for me. And ultimately, I lost to Justin Parnell again. But I really wanted to do it. There's nothing else to really take away from that, except for the fact that I got to cast Boomerang on a permanent, specifically a land. And that was super exciting. And I love that about your environment. I don't know if you thought that was a line of play, but that was 100%
Oh, yeah, no,
that
was intentional.
Oh, yeah. So I was trying to essentially time walkish against Justin Parnell. And good job, Justin. You still, again, we're going to meet up again. I promised Justin he's going to come to the Raleigh area at some point, and he owes me another match. But eventually, someday, I'm going to beat Justin Parnell in a game of Magic. Just not today. All right. So, May, do you have any other things that you'd like to talk about? Any more highlights of CubeCon 2023?
Yeah, so... I think one of the interesting things about being a cube submitter was how connected that I felt to the community in a way where I was just kind of sitting around drafting, doing my thing, but I had so many people coming up to me talking about the Fae Cube. It was a little overwhelming, but like extremely affirming. Like, full disclosure, I was having a bit of a imposter syndrome first day Thursday, and almost immediately it went away because everybody's just so pleasant and comfortable to be around. It was a wonderful time. And having people come up to me and just talk about their experiences in the environment and talk about what the things that they enjoyed, their favorite lines of play, and the miscellaneous things that they got to do in my environment felt so good. And that is the type of thing that really makes CubeCon, in my opinion.
Oh, I would agree with that too. While I think our whole group, we did this last year and we agreed, and I saw some other people kind of post I guess the regrets of not doing what I'm about to say next. I chose not to enter every single match. I actually treat CubeCon, this is me personally, as a very social event where I can play Cube with my friends all the time, right? But it was really nice for me to walk around the room because I'm a social butterfly at heart anyways. And just to go around and talk and meet people and we're going to call it Cube networking, if you will. And that was amazing just to find, I was asking ideas, which Cube is yours? What do you think's happening over this table? But also another cool thing for me personally, I kept telling my friends we're enjoying our beers and they're like, where are you going? I'm like, I'm going to go buzz around the room because I always knew that the Uber Bears Artifact Cube and the Horror Cube were both being actively played somewhere in those 6 matches. That I'd walk up to the table, everybody was really courteous about it, and that really sets the tone for CubeCon. I'm literally interrupting a game, right? But I'm saying, hi, my name's Anthony Adams, aka Uber Bear from the podcast, and you're drafting my cube. And it was really cool how everybody just turns their head up and start giving you like, here's what I'm finding about my deck. This is what I'm enjoying. I guess what I'm saying is the competition is real, but they're also having a good time while competing, which really defines Cube in my mind.
Oh, yeah.
And that they were able to stop what they're doing and they go, oh, yeah, come look at my hand. And they spread it. I mean, they're in an active game, right? And the opponent's not getting mad. And then I'd walk around the table and they go, oh, yeah, I like this, but I don't like this. This isn't working for me. Or, man, I really like that you're playing this card. I'm so glad to see this here. And one of the highlights for me is I spoke to Jamie Topples. And one of the things that they had inside of their cube was Uvenwall Oddity. What do you think about that, May? And she told me...
I think that I've gotten enough roasts on Twitter for my unpopular opinion. I was wrong. All right. Okay, it's fine.
No, you weren't. You weren't. There was about a 50-50 on that one. I've been keeping score, by the way.
Really?
Oh, yeah. I was going to give you that results now. There's a lot of people that disagreed with what I had to say about Uvenwall Oddity. I'm just having fun with it now at this point. But what I was told is that it actually won a game in that thematic environment. So that gave me kind of it gave me some warm and fuzzies, right?
Oh, yeah.
Right?
It's great in your horror cube. I think that's a fantastic spot. My debate was just whether or not, is this vintage level? I don't know.
Well, I was told by multiple curators it is about a 50-50 split to really tie that off. And if you haven't listened to that episode, check out our episode on the mysterious case of green. Well, we are debating on this card. And what I found is what I posted polls on Twitter and socials. A lot of people have mixed feelings. And one of the resounding things was about Uvenwall Oddity is it's a card. And yes, it plays a very particular role. And yes, it has haste. And yes, it can threaten planeswalkers. But it also can be defined as kind of boring and compared to other cards. So I'm not going to say, I guess this is more of saying that the scoreboard, the votes are still out, right? There's a lot of mixed opinions about that card.
Not that I want to linger on this conversation too long, but I found it interesting that a lot of people were like, you're not playing this to be in competition with questing beasts, you're playing this to be in competition with Crater Poof. And I'm like, okay, that I can get, where essentially you're just putting a down payment on a hoof. And I think that that's a more creative way of looking at it, rather than just directly, hey, this is a 4/4 trample haste, dude, great.
It's kind of like foretelling a hoof, right?
Yeah.
We really had and that I agree with. And it was neat because I was told that it won a game, so that was kind of cool. And rewarding because it was a recently added card that I wanted to, and this is where I fall into that trap as a curator, as I oftentimes do. I see something the way I want it to play, but it's not necessarily played that way. But in this case, it was a mixture of werewolves and whatnot, and that's what I really wanted to happen, is have a Gruul Stompy kind of finisher. And thank you very much, Jamie, for playing it and letting me know. So that was really great. That was a highlight for me as well. May, did you have any, when you were buzzing around the room asking questions about the Fey Cube, did you get any active feedback?
So, that's the thing that I'm realizing that I regret not doing. I didn't buzz around the room to talk to people about the Fey Cube. I didn't go up to people that were drafting it. I just kind of let people do their thing. And then what ended up happening was most people came to me to talk about it. And
Nice.
that was the part that was extremely validating, whereas just like people taking active effort to talk about it and talk about their experience and say that they really enjoyed my environment. And, you know, it gives me the warm, fuzzy feelings in my heart. So thank you all who did that.
Absolutely. And so another highlight for me, and this is a special thanks to Jazarios, aka Justin, who gifted me a altered Hellrider for the Uber Bears Horror Cube. And it was an Italian artist altered, so thank you very much it's absolutely gorgeous. It looks like the most metal-looking Hellrider you've ever seen in your life. And even, if you look at it close enough, even the face looks like a little demon bear. It is glorious. Everything about it just fits that environment. So I sleeved that. I talked to the judges when we were on site that morning when I'm checking in the cubes, and they're like, absolutely. This card is gorgeous. It fits all our criteria. Sleeve it up, put it in. So I wanted to say thank you to the judges for doing all that. Matter of fact, May, let's take a second just to do a shout out to the judges and a shout out to all of the event coordinators. They just did this event ran so smoothly. And I know they doubled in magnitude, and it must have been on everybody's minds whether or not they could do it, because they sure as heck did it in 2022. I want to say that they upped the game and did even better in 2023. So I'm really looking at 2024 with double again, May. Good luck.
All I can say is...
Good luck, coordinators.
Yeah, good luck, coordinators. But this con would not be possible without y'all, and y'all did a fantastic job. And what you've done, you should be proud of.
Absolutely.
So, another note about the altered cards is that I also was given a card, and I was given an altered fairy conclave. I don't remember who did the art, but Jazarios gave me that card, and it was beautiful. Literally slammed it in that night before bringing it in the next morning for CubeCon, and it was a perfect fit. I don't know how else to describe the art outside of it's like these two kind of hard to identify faces that are... It feels very fey.
It reminded me of Tree Folk, almost.
Yeah, kind of, in a way, but like out of water? Kind of?
Yeah, absolutely gorgeous. Absolutely gorgeous.
It was very beautiful.
When I spoke to him, he told me that he just tells the artists to do as they wish. He mails them off. He actually has an entire cube that's altered, and it is, oh my gosh, mother of pearl inlaid box. Just the most gorgeous cube you've ever seen in your life, where every card, cube, or at least almost all of them, are altered at this point. It's a quest, and it is fantastic to look at. So next time you're at CubeCon 24, you got to go check out this cube.
I have never seen a cube that visually stunning and unique that can't really be translated through Cube Cobra. It does not do it justice. Where that is a cube that when you see it in person and then you're looking at these beautiful pieces of art, you want to be careful with these things. Like these are priceless.
Absolutely. That's how I felt about it too. I was like wanting to wear like rabbit fur gloves to touch the cube. Yeah, it was gorgeous.
Yeah, but it felt so good to play. It was so interesting and just beautiful, and it was such a fun draft. Another thing that I got during that time was that Lucky Looter gave me the Lorwyn basics that I was able to use for CubeCon. So thank you very much for letting me have those, because those really put my environment together.
Heck yeah. Matter of fact, I was going to ask you about that. Those are beautiful. Yeah. I was checking. Oh, man, I was jealous because I've got those in the film, and as I'm passing it around, I remember you mentioning that you were questing for them. Oh, yeah, it was absolutely gorgeous. I loved everything about the Fey Cube. The Fey Cube is one of my highlights. I have to go ahead and do that now. I had so much fun, even though I got totally decimated. I pack one, pick one. Matter of fact, what do you think that I might have packed one, pick one out of your cube? Just guess. Take a stab at it.
Out of 360,
yep. See what you can do. There's only one card in that entire cube that matters to me. It's Shivan Dragon. Shivan Dragon.
Of course it's Shivan Dragon. Why would I think anything different? I was like,
pack one, pick one, baby.
Of course it's Shivan Dragon.
Oh my gosh. It was fantastic. Just brought me joy.
Love your pack one, pick one, Shivan Dragon.
Hells yeah. I was like, there is no other pack one, pick one. But it was fantastic. Another highlight for me was DSB was just kind of, I went over and spoke to this individual, and they had kind of wanted to relax away from a little bit of the competition magic. They kind of said that they wanted to they wanted to relax a little bit. And what brought this individual joy was doodling tokens. And at CubeCon, they had supplied all these paper tokens for everyone and Sharpies just in case somebody was shorted a token, which, by the way, I thought was genius because every once in a while. Oh, yeah, because I was missing a few, I noticed, in people. But I wanted to thank DSB because he's sitting over there just doodling away, having a great time. And he doodled out this masterpieces. And he gave me a citizen and he gave me a food, which I'll just have to get some pictures and upload. But one of them's like this individual making soup with 3 little hearts at the bottom of it. It was like, I'm like, oh my God, this is absolute perfection. And I'm putting this in my cube right now. So again, I walked over. I politely interrupted a draft. I talked to the judge. I'm like, I got to seed this into the tokens. And they're like, oh, yeah, absolutely. So thank you, DSB. These were stunning. So these type of things that were happening, just this community, right? This cube community where people are just doing all these just amazing things. Like, here's a 6-pack. Here's an altered card. Here's some beautiful tokens that I rendered for you. Really just puts into perspective the type of environment that was happening here. This wasn't your typical RCQ, which I'm not poo-pooing on that, but this vibe really shows what Cube is all about. Do you agree with that, May?
Oh, absolutely. I'll also add that he also made me a token, which was like a little fairy creature carrying like this little book with a skull on it. My headcanon is that it's like the Necronomicon for fairies.
Whoa, nice.
But it was a really nice piece.
So another event that you partaked in that I was unable because I needed to take some, as I said, I'm social butterflying all day because I just want to see what's going on, what's shaking with the cube. So sometimes I'd go back to the hotel room, we'd go do some lobby cubing, and I'd have some scotch. But you actually partaked on Friday night in Cubeoki, and that was something that I just didn't have it in me to keep going. But could you tell the audience a little bit about that experience?
Sure. So it was the mostly non-cube related thing that we did for that, and it was just a cute karaoke night, and it was a good chance to just kind of take a break from playing Magic for a bit, have fun, and then get to know people. And I wasn't aware of everybody who was there until I got to know everybody, so it was just a great chance to socialize and meet a bunch of people, and I had a great time, and I definitely had too much to drink.
What was your song? What songs did you belt out on this particular evening?
By the way, I also just want to say thanks for everyone who bought me a drink that night.
She doesn't remember what song she sang. What song did you sing?
No, I do. Never mind, I don't.
So May had a great time at Cubeoki.
I had a wonderful time. Although I will say, I did make a bit of a mistake because I tend to be a very supportive person. I liked people having fun, and I shot out my voice supporting everybody else by just doing the classic, what is it called? Like, shout yelling, whatever it's called for support.
Mm-hmm.
I threw out my voice doing that, so I tried doing Sia's Elastic Heart, which normally I can sing that song. I can absolutely do it, but my voice was so strained from the screaming. Yeah. It was rough.
I love
okay.
myself. I love karaoke myself too, but there was a point where, and I think Stu actually notices. That's why Stu's not on here today. He said he's lost his voice because we're talking so much. Everybody starts losing their voice a little bit because we're just gabbing nonstop, talking cube, just having late nights going till 2 a.m. playing cube. Yeah, after a while, it's just like you come back, you're on this rush of CubeCon, and then to get back in our van ride was almost 17, almost 18 hours coming back to North Carolina. And by the time we got back, we have talked for almost 17, 18 hours. Everybody's like, I don't know if we could record this week. That's why Stu's like, I'm taking a break. I was like, fair.
But I'm really glad that I got to meet a bunch of queer people in the community at that Cubeoki, and one of which was Tappy Toe Claws, and I hope it's fine that I get to talk about a little bit of that story just because it's kind of fun. Where I didn't realize who Tappy Toe Claws was until the next morning, but we were just kind of chatting, hanging out, having a great time, and then next day I was sitting down playing this Mirage Cube, and she came over in this Oko costume, and I just thought she was another cosplayer, and then I was just like, wow, that was sure nice of that cosplayer to come over and socialize. I wonder where Tappy went. And then, I kid you not, Pleasant Kenobi looks at me, and he's just like, that was Tappy. And I'm like, oh my god.
Yeah, that was another highlight. That was another highlight for our good friend Christian, who's a huge fan of Tappy and follows her on all the socials, right? And Tappy
I had no idea.
Yeah, Tappy just so happened on Saturday night, she's staying in the same hotel, and came over and found us all cubing and sat down and played my Munson Lords of Metal cube. And so it was really cool. Christian got to play with someone that he looks up to, and they got to crush the game on this Jund nonsense. But it was really fun. It really was a highlight for his experience to get to hang out with somebody that he enjoys watching on all the socials and enjoys the YouTube content, etc. So everybody kind of got a lot of their wishes come true, I guess. For me, as a curator, I got to see all these individuals drafting my environments, having a great time. In this case, Christian got to meet some personalities he was really wanting to meet. Yourself got to go out and meet all these individuals. It's just an all-around fantastic experience. For anybody that was on the fence and feeling FOMO, don't feel bad. There will be a CubeCon 2024. And I imagine if it's anything like last year, tickets will go on sale approximately July-ish. Give or takes-ish, but I'm sure they can just get on the CubeCon's website, get on the Discord, and you can keep track of when it's happening again. But the event itself was worth every moment of time that we spent doing it. Even the long drive with friends was worth every single. I just got to know my friends even better, right? We did cube theory, we listened to metal, we socialized, we road tripped, we pulled over. It's an experience all in itself, and it's probably the best vacation that I have every year. Another thing that I want to talk about is you listed on here, you got a chance to play my Artifact Cube, didn't you? You want to talk a little bit about the sweet Artifact Cube deck that you took on?
So, very unfortunately, I went 2-0. No, 0-2. I can speak. And what ended up happening is the classic variance issue of, I am drawing nothing but lands for the next 8 turns. Great, cool, wonderful. I did not shuffle well enough. But I made a Agatha's Cauldron deck, where I had things like Steel Overseer, I had a bunch of the modular cards, I had a bunch of cards like Stonecoil Serpent, I had Throne of Geth in there, I had Agatha's Cauldron, obviously, and then I had, what else did I get? A KCI in there, I got a bunch of other miscellaneous things that were just really gross activated abilities, and I had a really nasty pile that was focused around just kind of taking advantage of the modular cards and then giving them spell bombs. So that way I could forcibly discard my opponent's hand at instant speed. And then move all the counters over to other things and then control the graveyard of whatever I discard so they can't actually use it. And all of those theories went out into the wind as soon as I just got extremely unlucky. But outside of that, I was really proud of this deck, and I actually might have the controversial opinion that I think Agatha's Cauldron's fine and fun, and it should probably stay.
Yeah, I don't think it's controversial until somebody breaks it, and we're going to have some more reps. I was
trying. I was really close.
Yeah, I imagine the breakage is possible there. The card's very powerful, but I can see the setup complexity alone really did. I wasn't too frightened about that one versus the Ornithaka Palantir. I think I said that right. But either way, of the 2 cards that I added to 2 different cubes at the last second, I think Agatha's Soul Cauldron felt the most fair to me, and I wanted to see people do high-level spiky things.
I wouldn't say fair,
but yeah, that's fair. Spiky high-level power outliers is what I guess is a better way of phrasing it. It was like a Spiky Johnny card. It is that nice in-between spot where it's creative enough to allow a lot of these interesting decks to exist, while also being strong enough to spike. And I thought that was a really good position for it to be in for your environment. So this is kind of just the intro to CubeCon. We really wanted to just shout to the heavens, shout praises for the CubeCon staff. So we kind of wanted to summarize that and give this top level, I guess, roadmap of all the fun things that we did. And Stu will be joining this as well, and others, to talk about their experiences, because I think it's interesting for the listeners to understand that 2024 should be on your list of most most MTG event you should actually attend, because I thought it was fantastic. But in summary, and that's what we're moving to, I want to give a special thanks to everyone who joined the con, right? And a real special thanks to our good friend Cultic Cube, aka John, Zelda Zach, Justin Parnell, Corey, J-Bro, all the judges, all of the organizers, everybody that worked so hard, and I believe they put almost 7 months into this of planning May. I know that they took a little bit of break and they went right to it. And I want to give a special thanks to Gwen Decker for putting together that fantastic Hedron app. I mean, it worked. I mean, what else do you want from an app, right? I mean, it did the thing. It kept us all organized. We were able to report scores. We knew which table we're going to go to. There were just no hiccups with it, at least on our end from a user standpoint. It was fantastic. So great job, Gwen. I know that was a lot of hard work to make that work right in your development team. Also, we want to get, and I know May wants this, for anybody that drafted either Uberbear's Artifact Cube, Horror Cube, the Fey Cube, and Sandwich's Peasant, and for that matter, we'll just say the Dragons of Winter's Night, right? And all of them. We're looking for, as curators, we would love, love, love to have your feedback. We want the people who got a chance to sit down and draft it to give their live results. If you've got any pictures, join our Discord, throw it up on the Discord. There's a lot of ways, whatever means you want to do, that would be fantastic. May, do you have any thoughts as we kind of come to a close here?
Nope. I think that covers pretty much everything outside of just the miscellaneous fun cubes that I did. Like, I will affirm what you've said earlier about not doing a lot of the feature drafts just because there wasn't enough time to do everything. But one of the times that I was not part of the feature draft because I got back from Mind Twist, I played the Mirage Cube. And keep in mind, I didn't play Mirage. I was like 4 at the time. So it's really nice just going to this place and playing cards that are really old that I didn't get a chance to play. And it was a lot of fun.
That was our good friend Stephen Konefal's design, who's like the Mirage aficionado. So thank you, Stephen, for everything that you do for the podcast, etc. But yeah, I saw that cube, and I know that I know Parnell played it. I know that Pleasant Kenobi played it, and everybody seemed to just they were glowing with joy while sitting around looking at the most beautifully art-rendered set ever made, right? I mean, the set was just all about the art, the aesthetics of the design. So yeah, absolutely gorgeous cube. So I'm looking forward to cubing that with you, Stephen, whenever you come to the Raleigh, North Carolina region. Absolutely.
Not enough bunga bunga. I learned my lesson.
Well, so CubeCon 2023 is a wrap. We're going to have some further series coming up. We're going to talk about some of the feedback and stuff, and we're going to do a lot more deep diving in future episodes here. But other than that, we're going to move over to the socials. So if you love the podcast, we would truly appreciate a 5-star review on your favorite player. Anything. That could be Apple, iTunes, that could be Spotify, whatever, Google. It goes a long way to really help the podcast get out there and for new listeners to see what we're talking about, this Cube thing, and all the associated ideas of Cube from other podcasts. So that would be really great. Just goes a long way to grow this community. Also, UberCube is an affiliate with Altar Sleeves. If you use our promo codes, you can get 5% off of your sick altars that you can get from them. And they're absolutely gorgeous. They're slide-over altars. I had some of those in the CubeCon pool, specifically UberBear's Horror Cube. And I do recommend checking that out. I will have a link for that on the Buzzsprout page and all the major players. If you want to support the show, you can use our Inked Gaming affiliate link basically to get like your playmats and whatnot. May, I noticed you were rocking that sick UberCube playmat.
I was. It was a very high quality playmat. I really love the stitching on the edges that really keeps it from fraying.
And I've noticed that, like, we got this picture. That was one of the cool things for too. That was a moment where I think Christian might have snapped this picture. Well, there's like 6 UberCube playmats flopped out while we're cubing. That was pretty neat. It's like, looks like we're a NASCAR affiliate or something playing Cube. You can also find us at Twitter at UberCubeMTGPod. You can reach us at UberCubeMTGPodcast@gmail.com. And we would really, really love it if you joined our Discord, where it's just populating daily, right? We've got all kinds of, we're going to call it Magic personalities that have joined that group, etc. And it's just a great, safe place to talk about Magic. Also, I would love it if people, for those that aren't Discord and Twitter aficionados, I also am the associate admin, I guess we'll call it, the shared admin of the MTG Cube Drafting Facebook page. You can look that up, and that's a wonderful welcoming place where you can join, talk about all things Cube, talk about podcasting, we talk about pack one pick ones, we talk about where you can find resources to build your own cube. It's a wonderful little group on Facebook for those who use it. And then lastly, I want to give a huge shout out to our Patreons. Our newest Patreon, Nicholas Lapointe, and thank you, Nick, for joining us at CubeCon. Got to draft the UberBear's Power Cube. Everything's got UberBear in front of it. Someday I'll tell somebody why that is, but got to draft my Power Cube. Nick, it was wonderful hanging out with you and your brother and just get some drafts in. Also, our good friend Stephen Conefall, wonderful hanging out with you. Preston, I love just coming by and saying hello and getting a chance to sign your... Preston does this cool thing, May, and I think you got a chance to sign it too, where he brings a special card every year, always like a cube image on it, and he likes to get content creators to sign it. It's the coolest thing in the world.
Joke's on you. I did sign it.
Nice. Thank you, Preston, for everything you do to support the show and for all the ideas for episodes you provide us. And then we got a good friend, Sam McKenna, who now has actually joined our play group here in the Raleigh-Durham area and comes and hangs out and drafts with us. So thank you for everybody that's helping support the show through your Patreon. It goes a long way to help us, for Stu to get a new microphone and to replace his lights every once in a while that flicker. But other than that, we really appreciate it. And other than that, we're going to say the thing that we always say here at UberCube is Happy
Cubing!
CubeCon 2024!